Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing great. Welcome to our today's session of Meet the Global Leader. This webinar is all about inviting international leaders who are working in different countries, in different fields. And the objective of this webinar is to create an awareness among university going students, especially in Bangladesh, to give them an idea about what are the professionals are doing, how they're doing it, and to broaden their mindset from students from universities in Bangladesh through the experiences of our guests that they are going to share. So through their professional journey, our students will learn a lot of different perspectives, skills, how to implement them, and different topics and themes. Today, we have invited Miss Belinda. She is the CEO of Sustainable DNA, and we all know the worldwide this topic is like going forward, and it is going to be the main theme around the world: sustainability, and we're going to learn a lot from her and about her professional journey, about sustainable DNA, and why it is very important for students especially to learn today so that they can feed themselves for tomorrow. So Ms. Belinda, welcome to our session. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you, Mahbub. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today. And I look forward to the session. And thank you for inviting me to share my insights with the School of Entrepreneurship Development.
Thank you. If you share a little bit about yourself, it will be helpful.
Great. Well, as Mahbub said, my name is Belinda Carreira, and I'm the CEO at Sustainable DNA. I started off my career quite a long time ago. I studied to become an accountant, and that took me 7 years. It was 4 years at university and then 3 years of articles. And I became a chartered accountant in South Africa. So I started off in audit and then I moved into banking. I worked in London for around about 6.5 years. I came back to South Africa and I worked in assurance around financial institutions, and then I moved into strategy consulting. So I've largely been doing strategy consulting for the past 20 years, and I set up my business Sustainable DNA just about 3 years ago now.
Great. From accountant and all through, like in the field of sustainability. So, when you were a student at university, so the subject or the major you had, did you choose your major intentionally, or it was forced upon you? And also because it is the like some similar like in the common case here that people you have to be an engineer, you have to be a doctor from their, especially from their family, so by force. What, how it was for you, and why
Yeah.
you chose your major, and all the experiences you had as a student skill wise, if you share some of your experiences as a student when you were a student.
Lovely. Thanks for the question. It's a great question. So I actually, was studying a lot of art at school. I took art was one of my main subjects, but I still did science and mathematics. Our school never offered accountancy as a subject, but my dad was an accountant. He was a partner at KPMG. And he said to me, "Listen, Belinda, if you want me to assist you financially to go to university, then you need to study to become a CA." And I didn't actually know that much about what it meant to be a CA. I knew that my dad was, a CA, and he was running corporate finance in KPMG, and it seemed very exciting to me. So I really was very excited to study this new area and learn all about accountancy. And one thing I can say is that even though I never studied accounting at school, it was something quite natural, like a natural thing for me to do. And my dad gave me some extra lessons as well. And I really, adapted to it quite quickly, which I think I was very, very lucky that that happened for me. And also, I think the mix with the practical work. So I was a VAC student with Deloitte, where I did my articles later on, but this was during my university studies. So during, university vacation, I would go and do some back work with Deloitte, which made it all a lot more practical. And it's really good that I had the opportunity to apply what I was learning at university to how it was going to be in the work environment and applying that knowledge into practical working situations.
Perfect. I'm having a little bit difficulty with my camera, but I'll fix it. So, if you define sustainability in simple way, and if you share why is it crucial for students to learn about it in today's world?
So, first of all, thank you for the question. Sustainability for me, I would define as lots of people speak about ESG, and ESG is it's basically the three dimensions: environment, social, and governance, and it's looking at those criterias. Sustainability is slightly broader because we look at the financial and economic impacts that come into play. And so I always prefer the term sustainability to ESG. And for me, there's two main areas that sustainability really focuses on and addresses. And that the one is absolutely imperative, and it's making sure that we have enough resources available in our planet for future generations. That we right now and maybe the next generation do not use up all of the resources and pollute the atmosphere so badly that there is nothing left for the long term, for the future, for our children and for our grandchildren and for many more generations to come. The other part of sustainability, which is particularly important, it's important to the economy and important to the development of the world, is to make sure that companies can continue as going concerns in the long run. And that means that they have to be viable and they have to be profitable, or they have to achieve their goals if they are nonprofit organizations. And in order for them to do that, they need to be sustainable. So they need to be addressing things on, making sure that they're looking after the environment, looking at emissions, looking at biodiversity, and then also, focusing on the social element. Is there diversity, equity, and inclusion? Is there, for example, gender equality? Is there learning and development? For lots of the mines, is health and safety of the workers addressed appropriately? Those are just a few examples. And then, of course, on the governance side of things, we need strong governance around our organizations to make sure that they operate effectively and that, that there's no corruption and the organization just doesn't fall apart in the future. So, yeah, I think that basically sums up sustainability as I see it.
Perfect. So, if you like tell a little bit about sustainable DNA and its mission to create a positive impact.
So, Sustainable DNA was born as a sustainability and climate change consulting business that also provides software tools to help companies implement their sustainability and climate change strategies and to track and monitor the progress of this implementation. So we have various dashboards that list the key performance indicators, just like you would sort of track against if you, for example, if you're a student and you have a budget to live by, you would be tracking how much money you've got, the different areas that you're spending it on, where you might work extra jobs and get additional sources of income from. You'll draw up a plan and you'll develop targets for yourself around that. So pretty much that's what, sustainability, Sustainable DNA does, is we develop a plan that makes sure the organization is sustainable in the long run and incorporate that into the very heart of the organization's strategy. So we work a lot with the exco and the board at the senior level and help to embed that into the organization's strategy. We roll that out throughout the organization. We also provide training because it's no good just telling people you have to do something. And if people don't understand what it is that they're doing, why it's important that they're doing it, and how it fits into the bigger picture. And if we don't track and measure our progress, for example, if we didn't have exams while we were studying and get our results and see how we are progressing in our studies, how would we know that we are passing and on the right track? And that's why measurement is so important, and tracking and reporting back on it is fundamentally important. And why do we do the software? We do the software piece because the data is so vast, because we're covering so many different dimensions of, what a company's impact is. And it's both internal
Mm.
impacts that the company has and external, to the environment and, yeah, to the economy and everything. And not only just internal. So that's basically what we do. And our mission is really to make the world a better place and to make people's lives more fulfilling, and bringing that into corporate setting, and making sure that organizations are profitable. Because if an organization, company that you're working for, a for profit, is profitable, you're going to benefit, and it's going to help you, and it's going to help the economy to grow.
Absolutely. And do you operate locally or globally?
We operate globally, so which means that we operate both locally and globally. So I had the privilege of, well, I gave it to myself really, but sending myself to study at MIT a couple of years ago, where I did my Chief Sustainability Officer course and certification. And there I got to meet a lot of people from different countries. And we had an impact project team that was made up of an individual from the US, a lady from Canada, a man from Oman, a lady from Singapore, and another gentleman from Switzerland. But there was a very diverse set of individuals taking the course from different countries around the world. So that was fantastic. And out of that came a lot of business, and I don't know if you know, I am South African, but I'm also half Portuguese. So I'm part of the EU as well. So I'm also a member of the European Women's Association. So using that network also to find clients and do work in European countries. And my business partner that I initially was working with, he was based in New Zealand. So we also looked at Australia, New Zealand, and also the Middle East, and so yeah, and the UK.
Absolutely great. And so, for example, like students who are studying at universities, they actually, sometimes come up with ideas. They want to be an entrepreneur. So, according to you, so why it is very, so important for students who are currently studying at universities to, like incorporate ESG in their startup or business ideas, and how it can help them to get investment around the world?
That's a really fantastic question, and thank you for it. I think it's a wonderful time to be a student, in fact, because curriculums are being updated to take sustainability into consideration. And now, when you're doing something and setting up a business, you can set it up in a way that's going to have a positive impact on your direct surroundings and on the planet and on people's lives. And so there's a huge amount of investment that's gone into impact investing. So if you can show that your project or your business is going to positively impact on, it could be on community, it could be society, which is on the social dimension, or it could be having a positive impact on the environment. So, for example, carbon capture technology or other green technologies, those would be really, really, really interesting for investors to look at. And then looking at biodiversity planning, I know a gentleman who's going to study this year on, biodiversity and looking after nature. And that is very, very interesting. And he actually works for one of the large banks over here. So the subject is very vast. And what is so nice about where we are today is that some standards have been developed and frameworks have been developed that are encouraging, and some of them are actually mandatory, companies to now report on this. So it's becoming important. It's becoming an imperative. Stakeholders are now very interested in this. So you're more likely now to receive the interest and funding from investors if you've got a viable project that addresses the impact areas that they want to be having an impact in. Also, in terms of green financing, when you're doing green projects, or you've got socially linked bonds, those financial rates and the lending rates are much better than ordinary lending rates. So it's a great area to be getting into as an entrepreneur. And if you can establish a strong business case and really go and prove your concept, then I think investors will be very, very interested. And so it's a great area to get into. and it's definitely the way forward.
Absolutely. Thank you. We want to go to a different dimension. I mean, like for so for developing countries like us, or maybe in the South Asian region, there is a common misconception that if I start my career in, say, for example, FMCG industry, or it can be steel or any industry, I cannot move to another industry. So I have to be on that industry almost all through my career. So you were in the financial sector, in the financial career, then now in the sustainable area, you're working on sustainability. So how do you see it in this today's world? This misconception regarding stick to one industry, and how I mean professionals can actually shift to different industry, and based on your experience.
Yes, that's a great question, and thank you. Something I'm very passionate about. I have a number of mentees, and they've come to me and asked me to mentor them because they wanted to move from the area that they were in to sustainability. And actually, basically, I think it's really good to have a fundamental education and degree and understanding in a particular area because that forms a very strong foundation. And sustainability for me is like a building block on that strong foundation. So it's if you think about finance you can do in any company, in any sector, in any country. You know, you've always got to do the accounting once a month. You've got to check the cash flow, generate the income statement, the balance sheet, and report annually. So it's the same with sustainability, is that sustainability you can do in any sector, in any country around the world. And it's really good if you've got a fundamental degree in something. So if you're an engineer, that's amazing. I can take, for example, a chemical engineer. They would understand the whole chemistry of the various compounds, the various gases. So they could go into one particular area of sustainability that either they design new technology to make, the emissions and the pollution less into the atmosphere, or they could become a consultant. So I found that engineers are very good at putting things together and developing a picture of how things should be, and then re-engineering business processes in order to make them greener and achieve certain targets. But that's not only to an engineer. I come from a finance background, as you said, and I've now adapted myself and broadened my skill set and broadened my knowledge and built on that foundation to move into the broader field of sustainability. So if I was an HR manager or if I was a people person, that also plays a really, really important role in sustainability because we have to look after our people. And human health is absolutely fundamentally important, and they're all interlinked. Like if we don't have enough water, if there's droughts, if there's extreme weather events, it's going to impact adversely on our health. It's going to impact on our ability to work. It's going to impact on us psychologically, our mental health. And that's where people are so important, and community interventions, helping with training and development programs in our communities, which all helps to provide economic upliftment. So you can see, if you start off with a base and you know where my base talent lies and what I have a base degree, you can build sustainability on top of that. Yeah.
Absolutely, and very wonderful point that you have mentioned. It is broadening your skill set.
Mm.
Especially in Bangladesh, when graduates enters into professional sector, sometimes or some percentage of them think oh, that's it, I have the job, I've got the job, and I'll just go there, do my tasks, and I'll just return to my home. No self development, no advance or going extra for the skills development, additional skills development that I've mentioned just regarding broaden your skill set. Other than developing or having this continuous learning mindset, it is not possible to grow inside in one industry, or in terms of career development. So this is very important, continuously developing self. And at the same time, you mentioned about the certification that you have. This professional certification or professional degrees are also important to hone the skill, and broaden the mindset as well. So that's very interesting point. At the same time, there is a common saying that if you have financial support, if you are good at finance, it is the chances of becoming a CEO is higher, because like a CEO, he or she can do the maths and financing, revenue, stuff like that. So, but according to you, if you share about your, because of your major in finance,
Yeah.
how it helped you to become a CEO?
Thank you. And that is really a fantastic question. And I was listening to a podcast with Mark Cuban, and he's a very successful entrepreneur. And he said, look, even if you don't study, um, but he would really highly recommend it that you have some sort of basic understanding of financial management, especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur, because a lot of what you're doing as an entrepreneur is making sure that you've got enough cash flow to cover your expenses and to keep your business going, and managing the financial side of a business is imperative, absolutely imperative to its success. So I would highly recommend that whatever you study, you do, some sort of financial literacy course on the side, and you understand the basic principles of accounting. Because if you're going to set up and run a company, you're going to be faced with having to have annual financial statements now, especially if you get investors on board. They're going to want to look at your finances, they're going to want to look at your profitability, and you have to know what is the difference between, for example, a profit and a straightforward revenue line where all the sales are. What is all those expenses, and how do I manage those expenses? How do I, grow my business without taking on too much debt or taking on debt? How do I, with entrepreneurs, we bootstrap to start off with, and we we have to find a way. We always are hustling and making ends meet. But it's important to know and project your cash flows and to be able to manage that. And
Yeah,
a lot of things in life revolve around finances, and financial stress is one of the biggest stress factors for many individuals and companies indeed. And to be able to know what your financial position is and manage that effectively is a fundamental business imperative, especially to being an entrepreneur. So I would say it's amazing to do any degree that you have an aptitude for, what your family is asking you to do,
yeah.
and that you're doing. I think encourage that. Finish the studies, get the degree. It is so important. But at the same time, get some financial literacy. It will stand you in good stead for the rest of your life. And like you said, being a lifelong learner is absolutely, you've got to be that. And one of my biggest role models and inspirations has been Bill Gates. And Bill Gates, as I can see, is a hugely successful individual, but he is continually learning and reading, and he just doesn't stop, and taking inspiration from that. So, if you see somebody who's really successful and they're still
Mm.
learning, they're still developing themselves, then, that really is, it tells you that's the least that you must do if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, and also if you want to be successful in life.
Absolutely. And this is very important as well. I mean, for the students, that because I've seen some of the business ideas from university students that got received some funds and international representation. um, those who actually did very well on financial statements or financial returns of the investment or financials, I must say, how the fund will come from, fund will be returned, how the fund will be managed from the those who worked really good on it or did really well on that, actually they received some fundings and further
Wow.
representing their ideas in the world. So you have also received chairman's difference makers award for sustainability. What did that recognition mean to you?
It meant a great deal to me, in fact. Thank you for this question. Just receiving the acknowledgement, I think as an entrepreneur, what often goes unspoken about is the huge amount of work that we put into what we do. Many late nights, sometimes, and I'm not an advocate for this, but sometimes we do have to work, flat out, and many weekends are sacrificed, and it comes, with a lot of sacrifices, especially when you start setting up a business and developing it, out of nothing, and it's your idea and you're going after it. And along with that is it's you don't always get paid for the work that you're doing. So a lot of my work initially was done on a pro bono basis. My heart was there, wanting to help people, to help to educate people, and to make a difference, and to see how many lives I could impact. And I was lucky that that translated itself, and given the business acumen and the background, I was able to translate that into a viable business that runs, profitably. But I would say that, yeah, all of the hours, all of the pro bono work, and I don't hesitate now when it comes to, if somebody really needs something done and they need assistance, I always find room and space to do that. But yeah, so the recognition meant a great deal for me, because yeah, sometimes we tend not to acknowledge what we've done and how hard we've worked, and to have somebody else acknowledge me and recognize what I'd done, it was a big surprise, first of all, and it
Absolutely.
was a real honor. Yeah.
It's like a pat on the back that you're doing
Yeah.
well, like it's like a fuel to go forward. What inspired you to found Renewed Universe? It's a fantastic name. I like it. And how does it relate to sustainability?
So Renewed Universe, look, it's always been my passion since I was very young. I wanted to open these 5 healing centers and help to improve people's lives on a holistic level, being quite spiritual myself. And as I progressed, I tried many ways to do this, and nothing really tied together and succeeded. And Renewed Universe came, it was before sustainability became a really big thing. I meditated a lot, and I thought about it, and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be amazing to look at how we renew our lives, and as in our renewing our lives, we renew the universe around us. And that concept was, I wanted to use virtual reality and holograms to help people with the meditation experience, and doing yoga, using these different graphics, and working on renewing ourselves, cellular regeneration, renewing that spirit of youth and enthusiasm in our lives, and having the knock-on impact of renewing the universe around us. So that was initially what Renewed Universe was all about, and why I set it up. Yeah.
Perfect. So, how do you manage time? We know you're the CEO of a global company and organization, and you have a lot of responsibilities. Apart from that, how do you manage time? And you also mentioned that regarding this renewed universe and different, you have you have some passionate about some initiatives. So how do you manage time, and why it is important, say for example, to mentally and physically healthy as a CEO?
Hmm. That is a fantastic question. I think as a CEO, well, I'm going to speak for myself, and it is difficult to manage time. So I'm not going to sit here and say, wow, I've got it all waxed. I manage my time perfectly, and this is
Yeah,
exactly what you must do to manage your time.
yeah, I follow some rules, I follow some apps, stuff like
Because
that. Yeah,
absolutely. So to be honest with you, it's really hard to start a business. It's a lot of work, and it is directly what you put in is actually what you start to get out of the business. But there has to be a line between what is your work and what is your home life. And I'm not a believer in work-life balance. I don't think that there is such a thing as work-life balance if you choose to be an entrepreneur. You've just got to be really passionate about and love what you're doing, and understand that you're going to have to go the extra mile if you want your business to be successful, because it
absolutely.
all ends with you. It starts with you and it ends with you at the end of the day. And that's also being a CEO. You've got to have a passion for people, a passion for your clients, a passion for what you are doing in this world, because you've got to drive that workforce that sometimes maybe hates you and doesn't want to be driven. Okay. And people get sick. We all get sick, and things don't work out in life as we want them to work out. But you've got to have the resilience, and I think underlying, and I keep on repeating this word, is the passion to push through these hard times and make it through. Key to me in managing time is having good diary management, also having help. So help from other people in terms of how I manage my time. So there are CEO coaches, a good guy is Byron Morrison. He's got some great videos on how to manage your time, and I often look at those to remind myself, Belinda, you've got a lot on your plate, but this is actually how you need to do it. And then scheduling non-negotiable meetings in my diary for things that are creating balance in my life. And it's very hard sometimes to keep those in my diary and not move them out. So for example, one thing I do once a week is I do yoga school, and I keep that in my diary. And when I find I move that out of my diary and I don't have time for it, my life becomes a little bit less manageable. And also sticking to a routine. So knowing that I'm an early starter, and because I get up early, I'm going to have to go to bed slightly earlier. I can't push late at night and then expect myself to get up early because of the burnout factor. And then discussing things with people when I'm feeling, oh my goodness, I think I'm reaching a state of overwhelm. It's just touching base with others. So, it's connecting with other people, seeking advice from people who're smarter than me in certain areas. They know better than me, getting them on my team, getting their input, valuing people, being able to delegate, trusting my team. So really building a strong team and be able to love the people that you work with. And there's always going to be, challenges that come along the way. But I think those are the keys to effective time management, is to say, you're going to have to put in some extra hours, but how do you manage yourself on a physical and a mental level as well, and an emotional level? Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's a common, like scenario, which is that I personally have seen in recent years. So people who you worked for KPMG and Deloitte, and people who work for like McKinsey, KPMG, and consultancy, global consultancy firms like that. After a few years, they start their own business, or they move to even higher role, and they actually explored different avenues in their life after working for them for more than a few years. So how did your experience working for them shape your understanding of finance and sustainability?
For me, I thoroughly enjoyed my work experience with Deloitte and KPMG. And I've also worked for some large corporates as well. So it's been quite diverse, but specifically looking at the consulting arena and working for sort of a professional services organization, it really clicked very well for me. I learned so much. So it was very interesting coming from the CA background, being an auditor and an accountant, and then moving into strategy. And there I got to mix with people who were doctors, who were engineers, who were HR specialists, people from all different disciplines, come together on a project team and work together to make this project work. And, there's a thing now called proof of concept, and there's now strategy development, and how does strategy development work, and implementation. So I learned so much, and I used that opportunity to work across those organizations. So at KPMG, I set up a strategy consulting team for them. I worked with the quants, mathematicians, statisticians, and economists to help develop strategies for organizations to ensure that they remain profitable in the long run. So it was way before sustainability became a thing. But I learned so much from doing that, and it was just connecting with people across the organization. And I'm so stimulated by intelligent conversation and people who really are passionate about what they're doing and can teach me about things that they know very well. So I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. I learned so much. I learned so much about time management, financial management, how to make sales. It formed such a solid and good foundation for me in terms of how do I set up and manage this business? What are charge out rates? What is the profit margin? Where does the profit margin go to? All of these things you have to do when you're a senior manager in these companies. You need to manage your team, you need to manage sales. So it set me up with a really solid and strong understanding and foundation, yeah, which helped me with what I'm doing now, of course.
Perfect. And it's very important to have surrounded by like-minded people, senior, junior, or the same age. But this is very important because we are become the we have become the person, or we turn out like we are the person that the network we are like hanging out with and go out with. So like-minded people are very important. So we are kind of at the end of our session. So there's so much to discuss. Maybe we'll organize another webinar because of our time constraint. So if you share about, sometimes we try to ask entrepreneur that what they're doing, how they're seeing it, how they are making impact in the communities they serve. So if you share about some positive impacts of sustainable DNA on the environment and communities, in short, it will be easier for students to understand how why it is important to measure the impact and how you're seeing it.
100%. So thank you for the question. It's an honor to be able to answer it. So the work that we do really has an impact directly on people's lives, and it has a positive impact on the environment. So one of the key things that, being an accountant and taking my skill set and taking what I'm naturally talented with doing, was that I helped the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission formalize the IFRS, which is the International Financial Reporting Standards, S1 and S2, which is for sustainability and climate change. To draw those up and to implement them in South Africa, and helping companies to understand that and implement that, across all of my clients. Now, the impact that that is having is it's having that companies are becoming aware of the impact that they are having on surrounding communities and on the environment. And, putting those measures in place, you can start to see the positive difference that, companies are now investing in people's lives. So on the social dimension, working with my clients on corporate social investment projects where, it's not just about giving food parcels over Christmas. I mean, that's important, it's very nice, but it's long-term strategic interventions that take groups of individuals and send them on educational development programs and seeing them progress through those programs. And I'm particularly involved with the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, where, educating students and speaking to them and helping them to get, and a couple of my mentees, and one just actually, she received her CA, she just posted about it yesterday. So helping people achieve their educational goals and setting them up for success in their careers. That has got a huge knock-on impact, and doing that in communities. So going and giving talks in schools where children don't even know about, what further education is beyond school. I think that's really important, because fundamentally, if you educate a child, you set them up for success in the long run. You teach them how to think. So that's a really big positive impact is on in the learning and development side of things, but also environmentally, working with our mining clients, looking at how they restore mine sites where the land has been dug up and the environment's been, degraded. Looking at rewilding those, working on those type of projects with our clients. So lots of positive impacts there, and yeah, creating awareness really, really important. So I think those are a few of the areas
No,
that.
absolutely. And I was actually about to ask later on, but you have mentioned wonderful. That is, like organizations, they have, some social responsibility as well. And one of the, I think the biggest one should be, supporting students,
Yeah.
like locals or it can be global, but like you have said, how to think, educating childs or like students. This is very important because say for example, sustainability. Now it is kind of a little bit getting popular here in Bangladesh, but like majority of the students are afraid of this word. It seems like, oh, maybe it can be scientific, or maybe I have to know some, difficult terms to learn about it or stuff like that. So like from student life, if they are acquainted with these terms and topics, it is going to help them in future, whether they want to be an entrepreneur or they want to pursue their professional career. So this is very wonderful, and to support students from an organizational perspective. So if you share some advice regarding how university students can prepare themselves skills wise or knowledge wise if they want to pursue their career in sustainability sector.
That's a great question. I would say start doing a little bit of research and take your time to research. First of all, understand fully what sustainability is, understand the various dimensions that sustainability addresses. And I touched on those earlier in this webinar. And then where do you have a pull towards? What are you passionate about? Is it the people element? Is it the health element? Or is it on the environmental area? Are you keen on looking at climate change and on helping organizations to achieve climate goals? Keen on doing carbon calculations, setting climate strategy, looking at the nationally determined contribution for the country, or are you keen about biodiversity, or is it water? Are you keen to look at water, making sure that there's enough water? It's a very vast subject, so I would say look at it, know what you are studying as a basic degree. And then if you also follow us on LinkedIn, Sustainable DNA has a page, and we often share a bunch of free course material around sustainability. And so there's different courses on the different areas in sustainability. So I would recommend follow the page. And if you see a course that appeals to you, go and take that course. A lot of them are free. And it will tell you this is something you're interested in. And it will also give you basic knowledge. And everything in life, you're just thinking, from when you're born and you learn how to read. Like you never knew how
Yeah.
to read a book before. And it's just the same thing. So you're just learning. It's almost like learning a new language, it's learning how to do a new thing. But once you get on that bicycle and you can start riding that bike, you can have a whole lot of fun with it. So just start, get putting your feelers out, do a couple of courses, nothing onerous, and then you'll start to get a passion for what you're doing and dig into that area. And that would be my recommendation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And then we will share the page and detail about the website as well, so that students can go and learn. And thank you for mentioning it. Because this kind of learning basic stuff from source is very important. And
Mhm.
for students, developing some basic knowledge on different topics and themes is very important. So, thank you, Ms. Belinda, for your time and sharing very key information from your, impressive professional career. And we hope the students they're going to, learn and start working on the, advice and the tactics that you have mentioned. On that note, on behalf of School of Entrepreneurship Development, thank you so much for your, precious time and some insightful information, suggestion, advice. We wish you very best of luck in your future, initiatives.
Thank you so much, Mahbub. So it's been an honor and a privilege to be in this discussion today and to be able to share my thoughts. And what I want to do is I want to leave a message for all of those students out there to say that this is the opportunity of a lifetime, everyone. You are going to make such a big difference to the world if you want to make a big difference to the world. So keep going after your goals. Remember that what you put in is what you get out, and really pursue your passion. And I wish you all the very best in your studies and in your careers going forward. Lovely.